the age-old question, what is a brand? How many times have we heard this debate? What is branding versus advertising, or what is marketing versus blah, blah, blah? I mean, maybe I can offer a different take on this subject for a change. So back in 2001, I believe it was, remember that song Drops of Jupiter by Train? It first came out, and back then I remember I really liked the song, but the lyrics were, they're kind of quirky. I mean, they felt forced, a little bit fake, like it was just kind of like word vomit, but I kind of liked the melody but it didn't really connect with me at the time. But here's what's interesting. Fast forward 25 years later, and I'm watching a TikTok of, Pat Monahan, who's the lead singer of Train, and he's on stage somewhere, and he tells this story about this song, Drops of Jupiter, which I think just about everybody on the planet knows. And it was, this song was written by him during a really difficult period in his life. And his producer at the time was coming down on him to come up with the band to come up with a single as a follow-up to their successful first album, and how he was at the time in a really horrible relationship. And during the same time, he lost his mom. His mom passed. And he was supposed to fly to New York the next day, and he went to bed, that night. But 10 minutes later, he wakes up, and he's got this entire song in his head. And he gets up, writes this down, and then he proceeds to sing it into his dictaphone. And like the whole song, beginning to end, was done in 15 minutes. And to this day, he's telling this story. To this day, he swears that it was his mom who gifted him with this song and these amazing lyrics. And, man, that's some heavy shit. And, for the last 5 days since I watched this video, I can't stop listening to Drops of Jupiter, mostly in my car while I'm driving, over and over and over. And it's just so weird. And the lyrics, to me, have become magical and have such meaning. And it gets to me, hard, because I can relate to that moment in his life. And we've all experienced pain like that. And I mean, shit, do you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? Did you fall from a shooting star, one without a permanent scar? Plain old Jane told a story about a man who was too afraid to fly, so he never did land. Here I am, 25 years later, feeling every word of these lyrics like never before. And what's the difference between now and 25 years ago when I first heard this song? Well, the difference is I know the story. The difference is I'm personally feeling and channeling Pat's pain and his sorrow and his longing for his mom who passed. And as I belt out each word in the car, you see, this is something that no AI generated bullshit can replicate. We seek human connection. We seek human emotion, pain, joy, sorrow, laughter. It can never be replaced. Never. No machine is ever going to replace that, or be able to, offer that type of human connection. And so to go back to my original question, what is a brand? Since this is what I do as the owner of a marketing agency for the last 25 years, that's it right there. It's story, it's emotion, it's connection, it's feelings. It's not an ad, a website, a line of copy, a beautiful image, or a product shot. It's all of it. And it's how you make people feel. Once you figure that out, you figured out what brand really means. And it's not something you simply manufacture overnight or prompt into an AI to spit out.